What's up, IBL fans? Daxdleader here, back with week 3 and 4 of our power rankings. But I am not alone this week. In fact, I have a new co-host. It is the man, the myth, the legend, the one who is allergic to water ground tapes but has one as a team mascot anyway. It's Spanik at the Disco.
What is poppin', fam? Spanik here. I am back from the dead. You guys may know me last season from recaps with now current coach JoesephGames and the Chester Chinchows, but now I am here in a new role in Power Rankings.
Alright, so I think we're just gonna get into this. We have an all new list this week. Some pretty crazy games as usual. So hopping right into things, we have the man just mentioned, JoesephGames, chilling at number 16. It's still some mechanical issues, I guess, that I'm seeing with this guy. They're really, he just, I have a hard time having confidence in the plays he's making. Seeing it either from his side or from his opponent's side, the plays he's making just are either very predictable or like there was a better play to make, like clearly. That's the main thing I'm thinking. He's still 0-4, so something's got to change here. Hispanic?
Yeah, Joseph, I think he'll rebound. Like he knows how the game works. He knows the game. He was my partner last season for weekly recaps, and just by watching those videos, you could tell he knows what he's doing in, like, he knows how the game works. So I wouldn't. So maybe his plays do have some sort of credit to them, but I mean, as an onlooker, like, you're not in his head. Maybe as an onlooker, you really can't see like like the potential outcomes there. But maybe he has a different strategy in mind. But I mean, at 0-4, it's really not working for him.
Yeah, and that's about it to say for that there is to say for Joseph. Moving into number 15 now, we have KreselleKey, and the problem here is she's also 0-4, by the way, and it's still her draft that's holding her back. I find the Mons are very frail. She has a heart, and she's lacking those momentum users. It's pretty similar to what I said last week. If you have a team that can't take hits, you have to have momentum in your court at all times, and Crest does not have the draft to allow her to do that, which is basically forcing her Mons to take hits that they just can't be taking.
Yeah, so like, you got to have a. I wouldn't say you got to have a balance. I've seen offensive drafts work very, very well in league. I drafted hyper offense myself in a couple of leagues. Actually, won a title with a super hyper offensive team, and yeah, but you got to have still at least maybe like one or two mons that could just sponge hits. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself running a lot of assault vests just so you can maybe
Yeah.
take hits now and then. Because sooner or later, you're going to have to switch into something.
Yeah, the other thing about Cress's team is that she only has one Stealth Rocker in Rhydon and one Defogger in Yanmega. So that's the hazard control is a hard time for her, which is, if you're gonna have a hyper offensive team, you really need to have that hazard war 1 every time.
Yeah, Jan Mega, that's kind of an undefogger, honestly. Like, when your one hazard remover is taking 50% from rocks on switch-in, can you really call that hazard removal?
Right. So moving on to the 1-3 teams at number 14, I have Eric, coach of the Colorado Mamoswines. Now, yeah, he hasn't won a game since playing Turkey. MyTurkeySub, who if you guys have been keeping up with power rankings, I've never had a very high opinion of, just by his draft, mostly his draft. Um, but so he did win that game, and then he hasn't won since, which, like, I don't consider that one win like a super huge valid win. I'm not gonna say it wasn't valid, but it wasn't like changing anyone's mind. You know what I mean? It's like he was expected to win that one. So the fact that he hasn't pulled out a win since, and like to be fair, he did face some pretty tough opponents in Darude, I know, and the other one would have been GB. That's right. So definitely some tough opponents he went up against, but he still has not pulled out those wins. The Roselia Bring was a good idea versus Darude. Like I got the like he was trying to hazard stack, I believe, which that would have worked, but then Roselia ended up just being Metacham fodder. And then versus JB, like I don't understand the Glaceon Bring really. It was Veil without a setup sweeper. So I mean, what has to happen there is that if you have like don't just bring mons that have a good matchup, bring bring a plan. I didn't see much of a plan going into the game with Eric, and that's why I have him at number 14.
Eric, I love you, buddy, but you got to really rebound here. I mean, 1-3 start is really it's not the best, but Eric's a good battler. I faced him a couple of times in leagues. He'll rebound
Same.
from this. I really feel he'll rebound from this. He'll come back.
Yeah.
His team is too powerful to not.
Yeah. I'm actually really rooting for this guy as well. I'm in his front office, so yeah. Looks kind of bad for me if you don't do well. So that's we're looking to see you do a bit better, Eric. All right. Next up, someone I never thought I'd have down here. Well, I don't know about never, but since he was flying so high at the end of the GBA D League, we've got GoldoaDragon in at number 13, and he also is at 1-3, which is really surprising to me. Finally, some of the issues that I was seeing with his draft are starting to appear, I believe, in the fact that he doesn't have like not any, but like you look at his team and it feels like he was very lenient with his points. I know he used all of them, or I think he used all of them. But you look at those Mons and none of them are really like first round picks or anything, right? So it's just very not very scary, I don't think. It's got good synergy, but the team is not like fear inspiring, I don't find. And I think his opponents are not quite you can't take advantage of something like that because you're going to prep the same regardless, but and the fact that Goldoa has a bit of an intimidation factor, but it's something about maybe he's just not comfortable with the Mons because they're not seen very often in Draft League, and that is a thing I've noticed. Like the Mons that he's drafted are not common Mons that you see people use to high success a lot, so maybe that's it. But again, 1-3, I can't put you up that high if you have a record like that. So I know what Goldoa is capable of. I'd like to see him do better.
Yeah, I just feel maybe Goldoa is struggling a little bit. Maybe it's because of growing pains. Like, I mean, IBL has a very, very weird drafts format that a guy like Goldoa, who's kind of new to the format as a whole, actually can't really adjust like a new format well because he's just starting getting used to the actual tiers. So throwing a very peculiar draft format at him like this kind of maybe threw him off a bit. So yeah, I think it's just growing pains. He'll probably make some transactions or something and rebound.
Hopefully. That's what we would all like to see. There you go. In at number 12, this is a bit of an interesting pick because between week 3 and week 4, we had a coach change. MyTurkeySub left the league in exchange for Tone, coach of the Miami Mellow Marlins, and this is who we have at number 12. The way I decided to look at this is that although the team has a 1-3 record, Tone is actually undefeated, having only played one game versus Brendan. That said, the one game he did play was very, very close. If Brendan had hit that Stone Edge, he would have won that game. So that's how that ended up playing out. We will get more into that when we talk about Brendan, but yeah, Tone made some massive improvements to the team. I don't think it's one of the better teams in the league yet, but I think it's so much better than when Turkey had it. So I have Tone here at the top of the teams with his record for those two reasons.
Yes, Tone is back again. I remember last season when he came in as a replacement, Joseph kept butchering his team name so bad. Anyway, yeah, good to see Tone back. He's a good battler. He did get that win against Brendan on the Stone Miss, but we take those. And, yeah, let's just see how he does with this team for now. He's a good battler. I could see him moving up in the rankings.
Yeah, that's gonna be the theme here. Like these coaches have potential. We've seen them in other leagues. We like some of them are close friends. So yeah, we know what can be in store if the coaches not necessarily apply themselves, maybe get some good luck, maybe get some motivation. It could be a number of things. Speaking of someone who is on kind of the right track, but has a few adjustments that they need to make, is Rio, or that's yeah. Let's just go with Rio. I'm not gonna try to say the whole thing. Coach of the Pittsburgh Huge Powers. That's what I do know, and he's sitting at a 2-2 record right now, and we have him the lowest of the 2-2 teams because in his game versus Tyler in particular, I really think he's just not playing very patiently. If that's, yeah, it's not like he's rushing his clicking, but I feel like he's not really thinking turns ahead or anything, that he's sacking Mons when he really doesn't have to be, when he's not identifying his win condition per se. A lot of his losses in the past have been more that his opponents outplayed him, like in weeks 1 and 2. Rather in week when he faced Darude, I don't think Rio played that badly. I think Darude just played better. When he faced Austin, yeah, that was a nice win on Rio's part, and I do like the way Rio played there. And then in these last 2 weeks, yeah, he kind of played himself. That seems to be what happened. I think I mentioned in versus Tyler in particular that yeah, he just let his Mons take big hits, and I think that was pretty avoidable for the most part. If you just made a prediction that like at a few little spots, that game could have gone very differently.
Yeah, hopefully Ryu could figure out his playing abilities, because he's another guy. I've seen him in a lot of other leagues, and he plays fine in those. We played actually in a couple of leagues, and I know what he's capable of. He can identify his win cons. He's just maybe not in the right mindset or something. So hopefully he could get hit. Hopefully he could hopefully he could rebound. Hopefully he could get back on track.
Yeah, like we're saying, we want the best for all these coaches. We just got to tell it how it is. So at number 10, we have our lovely commissioner himself, Brendan, coach of the Marlborough Mudsdales. We're finally able to watch his games. That's nice. And as of this point, you're going to notice a little bit of a trend in that we're seeing guys here. Like, I think these top 10 players right here have like really, really nice prep. You can see it in, even if you don't watch their team builders, you can see in the game they have dedicated switch-in for everything, and they have ways to beat the Mons that can either like normally counter those, or they have ways of beating the Mons that they're supposed to counter. I know that's like really vague, but my example here is like for Brendan's Heatmore and Mismagius versus Tone. I was really impressed by those two sets. So stuff like that. Just I'm really liking Brendan's prep this whole season. He looks like he has a plan going into every single game, but in these last 2 weeks, he just versus Tone anyway. I can tell you he choked pretty hard. I don't know if this really came into play, but not knowing that Garchomp outsped Thunderous, like, that's kind of a thing that you should know if you're bringing a choice scarfer. But like, I mean, he figured it out in the game. But like, Garchomp always outspeeds Thundurus. I don't know how valid that point is, but it's something I thought I'd throw out there. And then yeah, just don't get too caught up in your own head during these games. This is something I'm going to actually say for a lot of people. Even if you have a game plan, even if your prep is really good, if you allow yourself to sort of, what's the word I'm looking for here? What Brendan did is that he just didn't go for it, really. He eventually, you just you gotta know when you've won the game, and then you have to execute, right? So like, sure, you can save things for certain other mons, but you can't just keep on saving mons forever. You have to know when to sack things. You have to know when to go for the win. And I think Brandon just ended up playing a little bit too safe in certain scenarios, or just tried to preserve something that he didn't have to, rather. And then, like, if he had just gone for the win earlier, he had the plan to do it. It was just the execution. And like I said, the prep is really, really nice. I want to see more of that. And I just want to see, honestly, faster games, because that's what Brendan's draft allows him to do. It's a really fast-paced offensive draft for the most part. It's got some good bulk, but like, it's a good draft. So I'd like to see him make up his mind and end games quicker, honestly.
Yeah, I could tell from experience. I'm prone to doing that as well. Sometimes just thinking I need stuff that I don't need, and also sometimes I kind of have second doubts sometimes about pressing my big red button to win now, because I'm always afraid of some random ass prep that could just blow up in my face.
Yeah, I also can identify with that. That's why I'm trying not to be too harsh on these guys, because I've for sure done it.
Yeah, I know. I know I've done that. I know I've done that a couple times.
All right. So moving on, we have a coach in a very, very similar position, same record, and honestly, same problem. I have Ben up at number 9, and these guys are pretty interchangeable. Oh my God. Ben and Brendan are pretty interchangeable in these 9 and 10 slots. But I do find what I am liking with Ben. I was especially impressed by his Sliggoo play in week 3, I think. Uh, Ben has been able to adapt his win con, I find. Uh, it's just that, like, okay, he brings these lower tier mons. He's so creative. He's able to do this amazing prep, catch his opponents off guard, and then when things do go south, he usually does have a backup win con, which is really nice to see. But from Ben, I'm seeing a little too many brain farts. I think he said, like, he used those exact words himself in his own video, but stuff like little misplays that, like, if you're ahead the whole game, that's an interesting thing about the game of Pokemon. If you make one misplay, you can be playing great the whole time, and then you just do one thing wrong, and your opponent gains the upper hand, and it's so hard to get that back. And that's what I feel is happening to Ben. In every game I've watched from him, he has started out the battle with the momentum in his court, and then he's done something to lose it. So if Ben just, like, I think he just has to focus, you know? He just has to, like, take a step back, take a deep breath, and, like, really decide what is the best play in that moment, considering everything, rather than just, like, I just feel like he's not looking at the bigger picture in some cases.
So Brendan and Ben have a similar problem of guys who are prone to making misplays that end up costing them games. Yeah, this is the case for like 90% of Pokemon battlers.
Yeah.
I know I've made plenty of misplays that blew up in my face. So, like I said, so yeah, I'm prone to this stuff too. Everyone is, but yeah, you gotta just keep your head. You gotta try to keep your head in your game as best you can.
Right. Like, there are all sorts of, like, real life factors that contribute to this kind of thing. Like if you can't schedule your game at a good time, like I know for a fact that like I often have to play my games late at night, and that like is actually a hindrance to me because I think much clearer like earlier in the day. So like little things like that, you can't little things that honestly we don't always have control over, but it shows in your plays, it shows in your record. Next up, we have Josh, Ultraplayer, coach of the New York Metagross, I believe. And this guy, um, he's sort of bouncing back. He's actually no, he's bouncing back in a big way. Um, well, since week 2 at least, because he got absolutely washed. But he's been picking up wins. He started season 0-2, and now he's 2-2. So that's a good sign. And he's been keeping up like the good things from his losses. He hasn't necessarily changed as a battler, but he has been doing more of the things that I liked to see, which is playing aggressively, calcing often, just like going and like honestly going with your gut when you have to, that kind of thing. Just a very aggressive offensive style that really fits his team well. I think he likes his team a lot. I think these are mons that I don't know if he's used them before in the past, but that he's comfortable using. But listening to his narration, I feel like his personality, his play style, and the team he drafted just meld very well together. So I want to see more of this. You're on a rise, Josh. Let's keep it up.
It's nice to see Josh doing well. Another guy I'm very familiar with in across a ton of different leagues. And yeah, it's good to see him rebounding after getting completely destroyed week 2, because I know the mental state that could have on. I know the mental effects that could have on a coach. You just get completely demolished one week, and then you think then you just think after you get demolished, you just think you suck. You just think you're like done. You just can't play anymore. But Josh has rebounded from that better than other guys I've seen after getting washed.
That's true, actually. Momentum is huge. That's like props to you psychologically for overcoming something like that. I have that problem actually as well. Yeah. You want to move on? Let's do it. Number 7, we've got Austin, coach of the Lawrence Talon Flames. Now, this guy is coming back as well, starting off the season. I think he was 1-1, and he was 1-1 like week 1 and 2, and then another win and loss. But overall, I think he's more consistent. His losses were not by as big a margin as the other coaches' losses, I don't think, or at least versus Josh anyway. I always say that Austin has like a really cute team in the sense that his main mons, he's got like the Bulu, Empoleon, Charizard core, right? So like the Fairy Dragon Steel and Firewater Grass core in one. I think that's cute. But he's been making it work actually. He's instead of just like switching in his mons to like take things that he should, I think he's playing better. Like his team is very breaker heavy, and like what you got to do with a team like that is to like make aggressive doubles sometimes instead of just switching things in and hoping to live. It's more like you've got to make some predictions sometimes, and the threats that he has on his team, such as Bulu and Charizard, once you get those in, you're in a really good spot. So Austin's been able to do that pretty consistently over the course of the season. He lost twice, he won twice. So, yeah, just put yourself in more of those positions where your opponent has to pick a sack. That's what I'm trying to say here. Like, he just has to keep playing, keep getting comfortable with his draft. Honestly, I would say practice more, maybe do some mock battles, stuff like that. I think that's what's going to help out Austin the most.
Yeah, good to see the resident Chiefs fan picking up some nice W's. He Austin, could you nickname your Bulu Patrick Mahomes, please? That would make my day if you make Bulu's nickname Patrick Mahomes or something like that. Yeah, good to see Austin playing well. He's another guy very familiar with in a bunch of leagues, and yeah, good to see he's doing well. Good to see that he's doing well here. You're 2-2, nothing to scoff at, especially after you have a run in with Goldoa. So yeah, keep it up, Austin, and go Chiefs.
All right. We're going to move on into the 3-1 teams now. Starting off with the person who I believe we had at number 2 last time, dropping all the way down, we have FlameHorizon. And after his 2 big sweeps, I want to say, kind of, I know he swept for sure, undoubtedly, versus Kress in week 2, and then week 1 versus Ben, he just kind of set up and won. It wasn't like a complete sweep, but it was similar. And then these past 2 weeks, he did take an L, actually, and the other game, yeah, it wasn't so decisive. So Flame just needs to get back in the groove. I think I will give a little spoiler here. I don't know if he's actually going to play another game for this league. I believe he's getting replaced as of week 5 or 6. So next time we are on anyway for power rankings, it will not be Flame in this position. We'll have a different coach in this spot, or like in who is, yeah, Flame's leaving. That's what I'm trying to say. But as far as he has done, he's picked up 2 huge wins, and then I guess getting busy is part of this. He just hasn't been as powerful, I want to say. His wins have been less decisive, and I think that just has to do with getting busy, because he won in prep, is what, like, in his other games, he won in prep. He picked the mon that had the best matchup, he set up, and then he just won. And this time, I think with less time on your hands, you're not going to be able to do that as effectively, and that's what I'm seeing happen to Flame, and unfortunately, you're going to have to drop pretty hard for that.
I see some foreshadowing in that last sentence. Yeah, good luck. Good luck. I know Flame is actually dropping out of the league as of. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they got the replacement by the time this video goes up. Anyway, good luck to Flame. I know he's busy with school and all, so yeah, good luck to him in all his future endeavors. And yeah, hopefully this. I actually know who the replacement is because I'm in his front office. So yeah, hopefully the replacement coach could keep up with Flame's work. Flame's got a nice team going on here, and with a 3-1 record, this new guy is inheriting. It could spell some trouble. I'm just gonna point it out. It could spell some trouble.
Right. We just have to I just hope that this new guy coming in doesn't make it look like one shat the bed. That's all I'm gonna say. That's a little pun if you get it. Subtle, difficult, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5, we've got DarudeLeafStorm, coach of the San Jose Panquakes. That delivery was so bad, but the idea was there. Anyway, oh my god. Yeah, Darude is such a crazy, wild dude, guys. I mean, his team is so unorthodox, and I was saying this last time. I have a hard time saying what Darude's best play is watching his game. Usually most games I can be like, all right, I know, knowing your team, like, you're probably going to do this, and then, but for Darude, it's harder for me, and, like, he's falling off a little bit as well, I think. I guess some of these coaches are getting busier. I don't know if Darude's in a similar position, but that's what it looks like, because his wins are a lot less decisive, and he's getting, like, his one win versus Eric, who we do have ranked quite low, right? Was very, very close. I think that game was a lot closer than it should have been. Excuse me. Considering how big a threat Medicham was, and uh, honestly, I think Eric is kind of predictable. So I was expecting Darude to capitalize on that a little bit better, and he didn't really. So he did win, but I was expecting a lot higher differential for that game, and then the other game he actually lost. So Darude's on tilt just a little bit, and I'm hoping he can break out of that.
There's an old saying: "A win is a win. Doesn't matter the differential." And
Yeah,
I always stand by that. I always stand by that notion. I mean, I really never really cared too much about differential. I just went for the W as always. I don't care about my differential at all. I'll let the time come when that matters. But I always go for the W no matter what. And it doesn't matter if Darude won the game 1-0 or 6-0, he still won the game. So,
all right, that's you. Yeah, but like I did explain, I don't know. I was expecting more, and it's not like what I'm saying is I don't think this game had to be as close as it was. I think Darude made some misplays, in fact, that like caused him to have this game closer than it needed to be. That's how I feel about it. It's not like he just had a bad matchup or something that caused him. I mean, the matchup, it was an interesting matchup, but yeah, I I don't think it had to go the way it went. That's all. That's where I'm gonna leave it, I think.
all right.
So
Yeah, okay.
cool. All right, going into number 4, we've got JB Westside, coach of the Colorado Buffalons, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, that's right. And he's been on a bit of a roll. He did lose only once within these last 2 weeks. Um, Same as most of these coaches. A lot of these coaches started off 2-0 and then picked up one more win and then one more loss in these last 2 weeks. JB is another one of those coaches, and I think we're starting to see a little bit of the limitation of his mons. Stuff like Mega Scizor, stuff like Tapu Fini. Like, you kind of can get creative with those mons, and JB hasn't quite been doing that. He's very good at knowing what the mon does, at using that, he's been good at doing what the mon does best, and I think his team has very good synergy. I think he has all his bases covered for the most part, but it's starting to get a little easy for his opponents to predict him. Is what I'm trying to say here. And you never want to fall into that cycle where your opponent knows what you're going to do. So I would strongly recommend to JB to switch it up. But I do think his play has been on point. It's just the prep that needs, I think, a little bit more juice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from here. People are going to eventually make adjustments according to JB's playstyle. But until they do that, I suggest to JB, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
All right, that's fine as well. At number 3, we have Jacob, as always, coach of the Green Bay Pikachus. And this guy has been on a bit of a tear, losing, again, only once in these last 2 weeks. His big threats, big hard hitters have been proving him well, serving him well, and he only lost to our. I'm not gonna say who we lost to, like, because that's like spoilers for the rest of the list. You can probably see it on screen now. Anyway, maybe you can't. I'm not sure, but he did pick up one loss, and it was a very fair loss. I want to say, sort of. Again, we'll get to that, but yeah, Jacob is very creative. He has been using his big threats creatively, because like oftentimes when you draft a high tier mon, you're like, oh, this is what it does really well. I'm only gonna use it for this one thing. But usually, the higher tier the mon, the more versatile it is. That's not always true, but Like, there are usually ways to get creative with high tier mons, and he has been doing it. It's just a matter of not letting your opponents get in your head and making adjustments when you notice that they have. That's what I'll say about Jacob, but I want to get more into that as we talk about somebody later on the list.
Yeah, Jacob's playing well for the most part. He did have one loss to the guy later on this list, but believe me, it's a loss that he probably was expecting given the other guy's track record. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
Let's go quickly over our number 2 and then get to what we're talking about here. At number 2 we have Techno. Techno is strike coach of the Carolina Pantherians. Again, picking up one loss in these past 2 weeks. I believe he won his first 2 games. Yeah, he did. And then only losing in these last 2. So, again, Techno's a guy who has really been... What is it? Yeah, he's been really in control of his of his week 1 and 2 games. And then in weeks 3 and 4, he made some adjustments, and he's trying to improve his team. And I think he's going in the right direction, but he did take an L. And I think it's more his team that's limiting him, possibly time as well. But he only has 2 Stealth Rockers in Mawile and Dugtrio, which are more offensive mons. If you don't get those predictions right and set up the rocks at the right time, or you are forced to not bring rocks at all, it just Techno's team is limiting what I know that he can do as a builder and a battler. So he does have a limited number of transactions left, and I do think he's doing the best he can with the roster that he has, but it's not like he was going to go undefeated with this roster. I could have told you that from the start. Techno's a great player, and his record will show it by the end of the season. He's no longer undefeated, but I don't think it's I don't think we should give up hope in Techno anytime soon.
Absolutely not. Who was giving up hope in Techno?
I don't know, man.
This guy's playing really, really well with what he has. Yeah, his hazards aren't the greatest, but he's clearly making up for it. He's 3-1 right now, and and number 2 in power rankings, and yeah, definitely Godspeed to him the rest of the season.
There you go. And finally, at this point, you'll all know who number 1 is. We've got Tyler, Phantombass, coach of the New York Cosmogs, and this guy has been going off. I said it in week 1 and 2. I'm saying it now. Tyler is just so good at, like, he does everything that I commend everybody else on. He calcs every turn. He has a game plan going into the game. He's not afraid to get creative, and the biggest thing about Tyler that I don't see anybody else doing, I think the reason Tyler is 4-0 right now, is that he's very, very comfortable making adjustments mid-game. In the beginning, he'll either play safe or aggressive, or middle ground, or he'll kind of get into the swing of things, and then if that's not working for him, he'll change. He'll start playing safer or start playing more aggressively towards the end game, and usually his opponents can't adjust when he adjusts, and that's what I think is setting Tyler apart from the rest of these coaches. He's been having some really big wins lately. Every game he's played, even though the differential isn't huge, if you listen to his narration, he sounds in control the whole time. I will say, watch the timer, because as much as I like the fact that you're calculating everything every turn, he did run out of time on one of these turns in one of his last games, and the other thing, let me check my notes real quick, is that, oh no, there's nothing else bad here. So, yeah, just watch the timer. But yeah, good transactions. I do want to say that. I like your transactions, and just keep doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah, you had to expect this. He's the man's 4-0. You had to expect him to be placed at number 1. Tyler's doing a great job this season. definitely want him to keep up the good work. Not like last season where he came got hot early, then kind of cooled down later on in the season. Still made playoffs, but he kind of cooled down massively. He hit a bit of a snag mid-season. Hopefully that doesn't happen to him again here. And, well, yeah, just like Techno, Godspeed to you.
All right. So that's going to be it for our weeks 3 and 4 power rankings. We'll see you again at week 6 with a whole new list, most likely. Doing this bi-weekly means a lot of movement. And yeah, coaches, keep in mind what we're saying, and we're hoping to see some movement here. So stay tuned.
Yeah, don't forget, no holds barred. We go in on everything.
Absolutely.
Yep. No play is safe.
No play, no coach, nothing escapes us. All right, so that's going to be it. And yeah, we will catch you guys later.